This is 91.3 FM, WCW in Worcester, Massachusetts, the Dr.Chris Radio of Horror program. And tonight on Radio of Horror, we have Nicole and Oklahoma Ward on the show with us from their science fiction thriller, Crawl or Die. Thank you for coming on the show with us, guys.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
For anyone not familiar with Crawl or Die, explain a little bit what the plot is about.
Well, the way I explain it is, it's about a group of special elite forces that get caught underground in a long tunnel system with no way to escape. There's something chasing them, and it's really a survival film about the will to stay alive at all costs, never to give up.
The security team is trying to protect the last woman alive, or she's the last woman who can get pregnant?
No, not the last woman alive. Last woman who is fertile, yes.
Oh, okay.
As far as they know.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. What happened? What caused the outbreak of people to not be able to produce fertilized eggs anymore?
Well, that's something that we're keeping for the sequel. On the first movie, the first Crawl or Die, since we knew we had to make it extremely, pretty much no budget, I decided I wanted to just slam us into the story without giving any backstory to the characters or really the events going on around them. And just the idea came to me because I am in the movies. I've watched so many movies. You know, there's kind of a story arc that happens in all movies. You got to get background on the characters, so that in theory you begin to attach to them. Then you care about them, and then you see what horrific event, if they make it through it or not, be it a bad relationship or whatever. And I was driving past a wreck a couple years ago. It was a really bad wreck, and I could tell that the family inside, there was no way they survived it. And I really felt bad for them. And I didn't know their backstory. I didn't know what religion they were. I didn't know anything about them, but I felt horrible. And everybody in the movie industry told me that the only way that you can gain empathy is to know the backstory on characters. And I wanted to test that theory with this movie and be like, no, what if I just throw these characters that you know nothing about into a horrific event? By the end of the film, will you be cheering for them to live? Even if you don't know exactly why they're there, exactly who they are, exactly anything about them, really. And so that's pretty much what I did with this first film. Now, the second film, because the first film, the indie horror community internationally got behind us so much that we've been able to move it up to more of a traditional movie with more of a traditional arc, with a lot more background information, answering questions like what you had there. And but we're still going to keep it pretty gritty and not answer all the questions. And then, of course, that'll be for the third movie because it's a trilogy. And then we should be able to wrap everything up on the trilogy, on the last one.
Nicole, do you have anything?
I think you pretty well covered it there. You gave all those details. But even for me as Tank, the script that I received didn't have a whole lot of detail. It was mainly just, you are this person in this situation, and he explained to me privately who he felt Tank was and how he wanted her to be portrayed. But really, I don't know much about the world or what's going on either, so I'm kind of in the dark just like everybody else.
Now, who's Tank in the film?
Tank is one of the elite soldiers that is on the team that is taking the package to a supposed safe location. And when all hell breaks loose, she sort of finds herself in charge, even though she doesn't really particularly want that situation. But she's the heroine, I guess, of the film. I'm trying not to give spoilers. I don't know if I should. It's been out, so. But yeah, she's the heroine of the film and the lead, kind of the leader of the group once it dwindles down. So.
And you're the cover model for the poster in the DVD.
Yes, yeah, that's me.
In your underwear.
With shorts.
Shorts. Okay, I wasn't. But I figure you don't need crawling around the tunnels in full head to toe gear and stuff like that. That would be really constraining.
There were times when I kind of wished for it, like during certain tunnels that were really tough, like the dirt tunnels where the grass and dirt was really dry. So it was like needles on your knees and stuff. But in ways, yes, I guess it was a little easier not having constricting gear, but definitely not a lot of protection happening either. So
I guess an
Did you
interesting
just,
thing that a lot of people don't know is that in the original script, she was in gear throughout the whole movie. And then one thing I told all the people, all the soldiers, is I said, listen, one thing I want to do is I'm throwing a lot of things, because I actually built the tunnel. So it was like a mousetrap, like the old game Mousetrap. So the whole set was built. It took us 1.5 years to build the set. And then I didn't let the soldiers in it. And so when they were going through it, the first time and reacting to everything that was happening and the obstacles in front of them. And I said, one of the things I want to do is get real reactions. You know, how if you come to a room and you can't find the way out, how would you get up when you do find a way out? How would you get up there, etc.? And actually, it was Nicole's idea to take off her pants for a pivotal scene in the movie because somebody was bleeding and everybody was standing around. And I said, okay, what would you guys do? And immediately she was like, well, I know what I'd do because I'm wearing boy shorts. And one thing she did that she didn't talk about is she studied a lot of female Marines. And when they all go through boot camp, they're all in like these boy shorts, men and women, going through the mud and all this, going through the heat. So it's not like a thing for any of them. So that's immediately what she did instinctually, and we just went with it and rolled with it. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
The budget on this movie was about $8,000?
$5,000.
$5,000. Out of your own pocket, or do you have like Kickstarting funding?
No, we didn't have any Kickstarter funding. Some people get confused. We did a Kickstarter campaign because there was a guy in England, a director named David Wilde, who was wanting to do a horror film in America. And I told him, I said, look, we can do a Kickstarter campaign, and if we can raise $10,000, you can have it all, and that will fly you here, and you can use my studio and everything. And he wanted to use Nicole as the lead in his movie. I said, you can use all my equipment and my studio, and that way you could film it. Did you all film before mine or after mine?
Right after.
Right after my movie, I immediately went into post and then gave all my equipment and studio and Nicole to David, and he filmed his movie. So that money went all to him. Crawler and I didn't receive any of that money. But other than that, no, it was all out of our pocket. That's why it took us so long to build the set. We had to do jobs and just build. Nicole and I built the whole set. We would work at night a couple hours and then, just make it happen.
Nicole, you're currently working on a TV series called Crime Lord?
I'm actually not working on that as an actor. I did help contribute finances when he was doing his campaign, so I believe I'm listed on IMDb as like a producer. So I did help him on that. That's the same director, David Wilde, that came out here, and I was in his film Screen, and that's his project that he did right after Screen. So I'm actually not working on it. I just helped sort of get it going with his funding and stuff. So,
not to be confused with Scream. There's Screen, and then there's Scream.
Yes.
Right, exactly.
This is Screen with an N.
And the sequel is coming out for Crawl or Die sometime? Soon?
Yes. We had a roller coaster thing right after the first movie. After it went to Japan, it kind of exploded in Japan. And then when all the other territories then started buying it, we premiered on the UK and then on TV in the UK. And the night that we premiered in the UK, we were the number one, Crawl or Die was the number one hashtag in all of the UK for 24 hours, the same weekend that Ant-Man came out. And we actually beat them in social media attention that weekend. The next week, every major studio in the US, our phone was ringing off the hook. They wanted to know who was handling our PR, who we were, what the movie was. We were flown out to LA for... The last offer we got was a $13 million buyout for the franchise from I'd say the third or fourth largest studio in the U.S. And we ended up turning them all down because when I tell people that, we had to learn the business. And $13 million does not go to us. By the time they threw producers in on it and they wanted to throw all these crew on it. By the time it was done, we were back to the original budget that we had asked for, which we were asking for $300,000 to do the sequel. So it had a $13 million budget, but we only were going to get $300,000 to make the movie, and our fees had to come out of that. And they wanted to change the story. They wanted to have Tank nude, and having sex scenes, and they wanted a guy involved, and we just didn't want to do any of that. And we knew that we have such a loyal fan base that we were like, you know what? We did it once. We can do it again. We're a little smarter business-wise with dealing with sales agents and managers and lawyers and distributors, that the second time around we can get a better deal. And it's going to take us the same amount of time. We're going to be starting pre-production in October. We've been working and saving money by Nicole and I have been flipping homes, really cheap homes. We only make about $10,000 a home. So we've done 6 or 7 of those, and we're getting close to our first tier of, we do a 24-hour live feed in our studio because we live in our studio. It's just a big garage. We put up a 24-hour live feed, and that gets us a lot of attention, and people get to see us as we start building sets and moving into filming Crawl or Die 2, which I imagine it will probably start filming around February or March of next year, but the set build will probably start in October.
Is that your advice for people to try and get their own film together, flip homes, and then stick the profits into your movie?
Well, I don't know if everybody can flip homes. It's just that I was a carpenter when I was younger. So, I don't know. I think we work with a consultant named Peter Broderick, who, has worked with every single director, Christopher Nolan, all the way to advising on
like Sundance,
George Miller and everything. If anybody wants to look him up on IMDb, they can. His name is Peter Broderick. He helped advise on the Blair Witch Project, and he has become a personal friend of ours over the last 6 years. He asked us a really important question when we first met with him to sit down before we started filming Crawl or Die. And he said, "What do you want?" And we really didn't know how to answer that question. And he said, "Until you know exactly what it is you want, I can't help you." And because that's going to answer kind of the question you just did about advice about making independent films. Do you want to be in Hollywood as a Hollywood film director? Do you just want to make a lot of money? Do you want to be known as a certain type of director? Do you want fame? Once you figure out what it is you want, because if it's just to make a movie, anybody can do that with an iPhone camera right now. I mean, look at the film that went to Sundance. I mean, anybody can make a film with no money right now. So it really comes down to what do you want? And we were tested. I mean, look, it would have been major bragging rights to be like, hey, yeah, we sold the film for $13 million. And, the general public is just going to think, wow, we hit the jackpot. We figured out what it is that we really want. Nicole and I are a team. We like doing all the processes of making a film. We like pre-production. We like to do the set build, sound design. She did all the music for Crawl or Die. I like to be in the edit. I like to control the posters. And so if you want to be a filmmaker that's in control of all of that, that means you're probably not going to get a worldwide distribution thing that's backed by millions of dollars. You may not have a Porsche and you may not have a mansion, but you get the joy of saying, that's my film. Everything in that film is mine, and it's exactly how I want it to be. And we kind of decided, you know what, we can live on $20,000 a year. We live in a garage, and we're happy because we get to do what we want to do. And if we ever meet a producer or a studio that's willing to give us control as far as, say, in the final edit of a movie, say, over the posters, be able to have the authority to say, no, she's not going to have sex in this movie. There's no reason. The fans don't want it. It's ridiculous.
What studio was that wanted it?
There were a lot of studios. Which one?
Well, it's hard to say because we signed NDAs, so I don't know how much we can say, but...
Yeah. We can say...
You signed NDAs for studios that you're not going to work with?
Well, yeah, because during discussions, they made us, it was to protect both of us. They can't steal our shit and ideas, and sorry if I don't know if you can curse, but they can't steal our ideas and talk about it to other studios and vice versa, so... I don't know how to say without saying the name specifically.
Studio behind Hunger Games.
You make up other names for studios, and you'd be like the Borner Corporation, right, or the Wisney Company, or the.
I can say that I can tell you some studios that I thought are really cool studios. The studio behind Hunger Games is a really cool studio. The marketing firm handling Pokemon is a really cool marketing firm.
Wait, you mean Nintendo?
And And
Are you talking about Pokemon Go? Because there's no Pokemon franchise
no.
outside of Pokemon Go right now.
The actual creator of Pokemon.
Oh.
And then we've been Ridley Scott Studios are really cool. I really like them.
Yeah.
Aja Alexander is a producer, is a really cool producer I hear.
Yeah.
And I mean there was 12 offers.
Mm-hmm.
12 offers from different studios and producers. But the thing is, in the end, we weren't allowed to edit the movie. Nobody would give us the rights to do that, and we had no say over the final cut of the movie.
And they, most of them basically wouldn't even guarantee that we couldn't be fired, so they could have just said, yeah, and then taken over the movie and been like, okay, peace out, get out of here, we're going to hire some famous people.
They all wanted you as the lead.
Yeah,
Every
but they still
studio.
wouldn't guarantee that they wouldn't fire me. I mean,
Right. And I can be.
Hold on.
Think I'm
Hold
that.
on. Back up just real quick before we could go on, because jumping ahead, I'm also I'm going to crunch for time soon. When you say that they're Nicole, when you say that they wouldn't guarantee that they wouldn't fire you, but they wanted you as the lead, what does that mean?
it means that if we got 3 weeks into filming and they told me I had to take my top off and let the alien motorboat my tits, and I said no.
Was that actually in the script?
No, I'm just giving for instance, and I said, no, I'm not doing that. They could be like, fine, you're fired. We're going to get Scarlett Johansson. And
okay. Have you ever seen that movie from the 1980s where the giant cockroach has sex with the woman? Yeah. That, when you said motorboat your tits, I thought that's what you were alluding to. And I'm like, they must have really been a big fan of that movie, whatever the hell it was called. But I remember the DVD cover, again, has the giant cockroach thing with the woman with her shirt ripped off on the cover. And I'm like, also then thinking of Aliens, where the face hugger is basically shoving its dick down your mouth, throwing its semen into your belly in order to impregnate you. Man or woman, that's the nice thing about the alien xenomorphs. They're not gender biased. They'll screw you and impregnate you with their demonic spawn, male or female.
Demonic spawn just looks like a giant dick, so it's all good.
Yeah, basically. So when it hatches, its head looks like a giant, phallic symbol. I mean, God, you saw H.R. Geiger's artwork. The walls of the alien's ship that they find on LV-426 are all giant vaginas.
Yeah.
I love it.
And you see the people crawling out of the vagina, and it's like, oh, look, that's life right there.
Yep. That's it.
Where can people go to find out more information about your film Crawl or Die, the sequel, and help out in any way to get you a $13 million budget? Because $350,000 doesn't sound like much to make a movie when you wanted a $13 million budget.
No, we didn't want a $13 million.
You don't want a $13 million budget? You could do so much.
No, because what we've learned, I mean, it's fascinating you bring that up. And this is where I guess some people probably call us crazy.
All right, you got to give me the short answer because I got to kill this for time.
Short answer.
Okay.
Is the more money you take, the less control you have.
Gotcha.
And so we wanted $300,000. That's all we were wanting from a producer.
Right.
And
to answer your question, the best place to find out anything about us is crawlordietrilogy.com.
Okay.
We're on all the social sites, so if you just search our names or Crawl or Die, you'll probably find us. But the website is really everything kind of hubs from there. So
right.
Cool. Awesome.
Do I have enough time to give you a shout out?
Sure. What do you mean?
Well, look, I just want to say thank you.
Yeah.
For having us on, and that's a real thing, because were it not for all the horror bloggers, the horror podcasts, the horror radio shows having us on and supporting us, we literally would not be where we are. And that's not a joke, and it's very serious for us. We try to support everybody who supports us, and the horror community for indie is just amazing because they are solid backers, and we really appreciate it.
Well, thank you guys for coming on the show. The one thing, Nicole, in Oklahoma, that your film reminded me of is Children of Man.
Yes.
With the last baby born.
Right.
Whereas your own movie, there were no babies. It's a matter of who has the most fertile eggs and such. Again, thank you guys for coming on the show with us.
No, greatly appreciate it, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.